there are 5,000 cadre in addition to some 8,000 plus cadets that are going to come through here. I think at its peak, while that's about 13,000, I think at its peak we'll be at we'll be bulging at an additional 11,000 people.
Wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jack and Terry Show. Our special guest today is Beth Avey. She is Vice President of the Knox Regional Development Alliance, and she's a former officer in the United States Army. Beth, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you guys.
Our pleasure. And Jack, it's good to see you. Jack, of course, is the granddaddy of all small businesses in Radcliffe. Jack, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Beth.
Good to see you too.
Now, Jack, the reason why we invited Beth on today is to talk about a big event that's coming up locally here involving Fort Knox. The ROTC Cadet Summer Training comes in every summer, makes a big impact on things around here. Brought her on just to get a feel for what we can expect. It's just around the corner. Now, I know you probably haven't been up here much when this ROTC camp hits, but it does make a huge imprint on the economy here. Restaurants and things like that. But Beth will go into a lot more detail about that. Have you ever been over there to watch any of this training, Jack?
Well, I've seen one demonstration about 10 or 15 years ago that just blew the top off things, but that's the only one.
Maybe we can talk Beth into setting us up a little trip over there.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Summer. A lot of people might not know what ROTC summer camp is and what that training involves, who it's for, and what the outcomes are. So maybe you can just summarize that for us.
Sure. Cadet Summer Training, first of all, I think is something to be really proud of. It is the Army's largest annual training exercise, and it takes place at Fort Knox. So we love to brag about that. And cadets start arriving at the end of May, so this month. And these are typically college students in the Reserve Officer Training Corps program, coming between their junior and senior year. And then there's some that come for what's called basic camp, but majority of them are coming for what's called advanced camp. And it's kind of their formative culminating evaluation as they head into their senior year. And then when they graduate, these young men and women become second lieutenants, officers in the United States Army. It's the largest commissioning source of officers. 70% of all officers come from ROTC programs.
Wow.
So it's really exciting, and it's a great feather in our cap to have right here in our backyard. Each of those training sessions, I think let me check my notes. There's 10 iterations of the advanced camp. And I think there's going to be 3 iterations of the basic camp, but each of those last about 35 days.
Mm-hmm. Now, they live on the installation, cadre, which makes a big impact locally. And I imagine that's a pretty good size number. What's their status? Do they typically live in the local economy?
I think it sort of depends, Terry. I'm sure several of them, many of them stay on post in lodging, but then given the sheer number, I'm sure some leverage off post lodging as well, because there are 5,000 cadre in addition to some 8,000 plus cadets that are going to come through here. I think at its peak, while that's about 13,000, I think at its peak we'll be bulging at an additional 11,000 people.
Wow.
Post, so we grow considerably in the summer. But and those cadre that I'm sure some of them are already getting here. They're dining in our local restaurants, as you mentioned. Some of them are staying in our hotels. They're shopping in our retail establishments. And then for the cadets, while they don't get to come off post except maybe on family day, their families do, when they come for family day and when they come for graduation. And there's several graduations, obviously, for each one of those camps. So
I remember
tremendous impact.
Most years you can see a lot of the cadre out here. And then of course you see the families when they come to visit. But the cadre makes a huge impact on the local economy as far as restaurants, hotels, gas stations, almost all retail areas. And what wonderful people too. They're coming from a different location. All of this stuff around here is new to them, and they are so interested in what goes on. I met a bunch of them in the last few years. It's amazing to see those guys. And then like you said, when there is a break for the cadets, then they can get out here too. We didn't see as many of those, but we do see a lot of cadre, a lot of family members.
It's a great opportunity for our community to shine and put out that welcome mat and realize that a great economic impact too.
That's right.
Absolutely is. And now actually we ought to be thinking more about that locally, preparing for that a little bit better. Give us a little bit of dates, things like that. Would you have some dates when you think this will begin and where it ends, Beth?
Yeah, Fort Knox PAO is great to let me know. The first true day of CST is May 26th. I think that, they're going to run well through August. I need to look. I don't know when the last graduation is, but I know the first graduation, I love this, is on July 4th. I think that's awesome.
Oh, great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big celebration.
So that first camp. Yeah. So that's really neat. But yeah, it's an exciting time for our community. I think it's also exciting because if you think about it, if this is 70% of all officers come out of ROTC, that means 70% of all officers in the Army visit Fort Knox. Fort Knox touches them in a very formative way. So that's kind of neat that they have that. The Fort Knox has that impact on them.
Right. Yeah,
you're right. Very beginning of their career.
Yeah, most of the people in the military eventually will have been through Fort Knox. Where are there other commissioning locations, other CSTs other than Fort Knox?
No, but there's two other commissioning sources. There's of course West Point, the military academy, and OCS, Officer Candidate School at Fort Benning. So
sure.
Yeah.
So the local impact, you've probably experienced over the last few years some information about what kind of financial impact an ROTC program like this actually has on a community.
The annual economic impact of Fort Knox in total is $4.8 billion. It's $1.3 billion in annual payroll. I mean, and you talk about, this is really that indirect impact, right? I mean, it's not just that spending power of the employed military and civilians, but that indirect impact of all that goes on the installation and how it has that ripple effect. We've been trying to make sure we get the word out about the digital air-ground integration range, that's DAGR. That is, we're going to start to see units training on that in 2024. But this has been a $52 million investment on Llano Range, which has been quite quiet for a couple of years, and it will be one of only two in the United States Army's ranges of this type, the only one east of the Mississippi. So when you think about units wanting to become where they can train as they would fight, this will be one of the premier locations in the Army to do that, because it allows ground forces and air forces, both fixed wing and rotary wing, to train simultaneously on a range. And what we're trying to let people know is, one, be super proud of this, because I mean, when you want to talk about military readiness and our national defense, I mean, the DAGR is going to be a marquee training tool for that right here at Fort Knox. But also, Llano Range has been a little quiet. We also have a lot of new people moving to the community that may not be familiar with those sounds of freedom that I think we all love and appreciate. And we just want everybody to know that, as you're looking at buying new homes or selling your home or renting or any sort of development, that we make people as aware as possible about the DAGR and the sounds of freedom that we're going to be hearing on a much more regular basis.
Is the cadre for that facility, this is a year-round training facility? Oh
yeah, it'll be used, and that's range control. So that team already exists on the installation, DPTMS. So what is that? Director of Plans, Mobilizations Training, and range control. So they've been actively planning for that. I don't know if they have to plus up their numbers in terms of staffing. I haven't heard anything in that regard. So, but, and then
Okay.
there's contractors associated with it too, of course.
Sure. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big project. We haven't even felt that yet.
No,
Been talking about it for a long time, but we haven't felt that yet. We haven't heard
Yeah.
that yet either, but we will.
right. We'll
Won't be
see it
very
and
long.
feel it and hear it. Yeah,
That's
all about it.
that's a
Can't
good
wait.
that's a good sound.
It is. I love it. I love it. And we should all be really proud of it. But you know, it's just to make sure we let people know it's coming and we educate those who maybe have not lived in the community for a long time.
Well,
We'll see.
let's just leave you with the last word. What would you like folks to know about
Um,
KRDA or anything else that you
well,
have going on, Beth?
I think our mission, to promote and protect Fort Knox, all of you as community members and supporters make that easy because of what you do every day, of supporting soldiers and families. And so we just thank you, because you make our work easier and the support that you give. And so we just say, keep it up.
Well, thank you very
so
much. We feel the same way, or at least I do, and Jack does. We can only
Oh,
speak for the
very
Jack and Terry show.
This is so important to us as a community, and what you do is felt every day. And
Sure is.
we really appreciate you. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, Jack.
Absolutely.
It's an honor. Appreciate you guys too. Have a great
Folks,
Derby weekend.
Oh, thank you, folks. That was Beth Avey. She is the vice president of Knox Regional Development Alliance and doing an awesome job over there. She is a former Army officer in the United States Army, and she did a good job there too, I'm sure. Beth, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Jack, it was good to see you, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Good to see you, Terry. Yeah, I'm scheduled to see you a couple of times.
Good. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye, guys.